This video is all about the blogging tips that new bloggers must know. I have a website called by Sophia and it has turned into quite the business over the last 3 years since I've started it. We receive last month we had over 1 million page views, and we make over 5 figures a month, well into 5 figures a month. And there's just a lot of things that I have learned over the last 3 years, and a lot of things that I would have done differently as a new blogger. So I thought it would be fun and helpful to go through my top blogging tips and just the things that I think it's really important for new bloggers to know. There's so much information being thrown your way, and sometimes you get distracted over the things that should actually be taking your attention. So these are my top 5 blogging tips I think all new bloggers should know. Blogging tip number 1. Don't focus on stupid things. I think that this is the biggest issue, is that new bloggers don't know what is worth their time to be focusing on and what is a waste of your time. And when for the last 3 years, I was a full-time college student, so I was juggling being a full-time college student. When I first started my blog, my sophomore year as a college student, and I also was working, and my biggest thing was ROI, which means return on an investment. And I would focus on my ROI so insanely, and I would only do things that would make me money or would be beneficial to grow my blog. For example, your about page is not important, okay? You should be spending an hour tops getting your about page done. That's not gonna help the reader at all. That will not help you make money. Just little things like that is really important to know what is worth you doing and what is a complete waste of your time and just a time sucker. Blogging tip number 2. The blogging game is all about consistency. Literally, it's all about consistency. And I think a huge issue is that people think that blogging is easy, and they think that it's really, really fast, and it is not easy and it is not fast. It takes a ton of time. I treated it like a full-time job from the very beginning, and you will not make money in the beginning. Most people, it takes an entire year of working full-time to start making money, and that might seem easy, but in that year when you're busting your butt trying to do everything and you're really seeing no results from it, it can be really, really hard. And that's where a lot of people give up and just completely let their blog go. And I see it over and over again that people give up just as you're getting somewhere. So stick with it. Consistency, consistency, consistency. And something that I always think about with my website is, this is a quote I heard from a random podcast, and it was, "We're in it for the marathon, not for the sprint." And I think about that in everything I do. Nothing is about the sprint. You will not succeed as a blogger if you are trying to, or if you think in 3 weeks you're gonna have a huge successful blog. That just doesn't happen. So in your whole mind, consistency, consistency, consistency. And also, I'm adding this tip in here. This is actually a really good one that I don't have written down, so I'll add it right now. Blogging tip number 3, test things out. So what I always suggest is test things out. Do something for 6 months, analyze your stats, and continue on with what is working in those 6 months and ditch what is not working. And that's something that will help with consistency, is that when you're being consistent, you can actually see how your stats are playing out, and you cannot gauge stats in 3 weeks. That is just not gonna happen. So if you can wait and do it and do something for at least 6 months, then you have a better idea of how your readers are liking it, what's getting the most views, what social media platforms are working for you, different things like that. Blogging tip number 4. So now we have 6 tips, but there are 3 things that I think that you should invest in when first starting your blog. I have these written down. Hosting, you should invest in a blog host and get a WordPress blog. So when I started, I had a self-hosted WordPress blog, and my blogging host was Bluehost. Bluehost, I love Bluehost. It's like the cheapest host that you can get. You can get it for like $2.95 a month. It is not expensive, but you need to invest in a host, and that's just super important, and I'm a stickler for that. You also should invest, in my opinion, in a website theme. So far you're investing in a blogging host, a website theme, which will make your website look really, really good. You can find website themes on Etsy for like $10. They are not expensive, and I promise you, your website will look so much better than if you tried to put it together yourself. Unless you're a website designer, just spend the $10 or more. Like, obviously they get more and more expensive. When I first started my blog, I used 17th Avenue Designs. I'll have the link to the exact website theme or WordPress theme that I used. And I believe it was like $65. So they do get more expensive, but Etsy does have them for like $10, and they will make your website look so much better, and you will just look so much more professional to your readers. Okay, and the third thing that I think you should be spending your money on when first starting a blog is a Pinterest scheduler. And if you watch my other videos, you know that I fully believe that Pinterest should be your social media platform that you choose to focus on in the beginning. I didn't even get on Instagram or YouTube or any other social media platform for 3 years. So for 3 years of my blog, I was making like $20,000 a month. I was only using Pinterest, focus on Pinterest, and a huge part of my Pinterest strategy is using Tailwind, which is a scheduler, and I do have a course like that shows you exactly my Pinterest strategy and how I use Tailwind. But Tailwind is the best, and it will allow you to do all your Pinterest scheduling and planning in like 1 hour a week, so then you don't have to focus on it every single day, which ROI, that's a time sucker. So those 3 things are what I think you should invest in when first starting your blog: hosting, website theme, and a Pinterest scheduler. Blogging tip number 5. You cannot use other people's photos without permission. And I'm gonna kind of skim this. I can't answer questions on this because this is legal, but a huge thing that beginner bloggers have an issue with and just don't follow what you're supposed to do is that you cannot go to Pinterest, save the photo to your computer, and then just write source at blank. You have to get written permission, or even better, you have to take your own photos. So I either get full-on written permission that we can use the photos, I take my own photos, or I use a stock photo website and buy the photo so then I have permission to use it. Do not just save someone's photo and use it. You can get in a whole lot of trouble, and that is copyright. And my last tip number 6, is courses are your best friend. The first year of starting my blog, I would babysit. I would take any babysitting job that I could to save money so that I can buy courses on blogging. And I think that was a huge, huge thing in growing my blogging business, because instead of taking 8 months to figure out something on my own, I could spend $100 and learn from someone that has a proven strategy, that has a really good stats, and I can implement what they teach me into my own blog. It saves me time. I can then see how to do something, and it just helped me grow my blog so much more. So I've been taking courses religiously for the last 3 years. Whenever I'm starting something new on my website, first thing I do is buy a course from someone who has reputable stats and knows what they're talking about. I have now created my own 2 courses, and it just is really, really helpful. So this is another thing with the testing. What I always say is, and what I did was I would buy a course and I would do exactly what they told me to do in the course for 6 months. And then after that 6 months, I would be able to analyze my stats and analyze their strategy and kind of morph it into my own strategy and make it work for my blog and my readers. And that is just huge. So definitely invest in courses. Look at courses. I have a whole video that I'll put like right here or wherever that I go through every single course that I've taken for my website, and I kind of explain like if I liked it, if I didn't like it, and then the different things, and that should be really, really helpful for you. So those are my 5, well, I guess technically 6 blogging tips that I think all new bloggers should know. And also just like don't give up. Like, I guess it goes back to the consistency thing. Like, so many people give up right when they're about to be successful, and it's just hard. Like, blogging is not easy. If it was easy, every single person in the world would be doing it. So go into it. I mean, you're already researching a ton, so you're already doing a good job, but those are just my top tips. And I have a ton of resources on my blog on how I was able to grow my website that can be really helpful for you. I have a lot of free printables and free guides on how I do different things. And I will have the link to all of that down below. But I hope that was helpful, and I hope you have a great day.